Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Deanna with Divine Destiny, and my purpose of this channel is to empower and encourage every sensitive soul to throw a label on it, empaths. What does that mean? Well, let's think about it. We are multi-sensory beings, and we came into this life feeling everything to the extremes. And if you look back through your life, possibly you can remember walking into a room and feeling everything that everybody's thinking and not saying. And so, multisensory is we feel things big and we feel things deep. And for me, I always had this inner dialogue within myself. I learned at a very young age to self-soothe. And the biggest oppression that I've seen across the board with all of us highly sensitives is we were suppressed or oppressed of our own true feelings and able to communicate them. And so what I really want to touch on today is to encourage you that we can go back and pinpoint all of these dynamics. A lot of us have been in the dynamics of us kind of playing the people-pleasing role and wanting everybody to be okay and everybody get along. And then we get hooked by the what they call on the narcissistic spectrum, which is those that feed off everybody else's energy instead of knowing their own identity. And a lot of times these things will always, it's handed down, wound, wound, wound. But the difference between the empath and the multi-sensory beings and beautiful that we are is we feel everything so deeply, and we feel the things that people aren't verbalizing. So there's a lot of undercurrents there. If you grew up as I did, which you're born that, so that's not something you learn. Empathy is something that people can learn, but being an empath, you're born that. And I believe the beautiful part about it is once we learn that it's a gift and not a curse, is we really can anchor a lot of light into this planet to just being. Being is all we need to do once we're in harmony and we're empowered instead of giving our power away. So there's been a lot of hooks with the I'll just say it like this, the narcissist tends to cling to the ego and the mind, and the empath is constantly the dialogue between the heart and wanting everybody to be okay and wanting to be the peacemaker and the one that's nurturing others. We do this naturally, but it can become codependent. And if you were into a dynamic, as I have always been up until my awareness of this at the age of 40, we've always been that people pleasing, and it ended up putting us in to the demise of our own well-being, enablers. And so empowering everybody with your awareness of this, think back throughout your life. Have you been the one that's always been wanting to lay it all on the table and be at peace? Because our honesty and our integrity within our hearts as an empath, it really can rile up the demons, so to speak, in other people who are living out of the ego and they don't know their identity. They cling more to their egoic personality than they do in the heart space about fairness and oneness. So with that being said, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of different highlights that I've been taking notes with. It's been important for me Spirit's been really knocking me to come on because we are experiencing extreme highs and lows on this planet right now. And the more children that are coming in as well are more sensitive as well. So do not ever allow anybody to tell you that you're too sensitive or you feel too much, because it's actually the gift. And I don't know where mankind got on to thinking that honesty and integrity was intimidating, but it seems to be that way. And so with you here on my channel being an empath, your thoughts and your heart and your wanting everybody to be in peace and in harmony was genuine. And so don't let anybody tell you that you're too sensitive or you feel too deep. There was an affirmation that came through to me by Spirit, and I'm going to share it now, but I'm going to share it again once we wrap this video up. And the affirmation that Spirit gave to me to share is my feelings matter, and I trust my intuition. And I'm going to share this again at the end of the video to really close this off, because I want you to know that your feelings are valid. You're not too sensitive. And there's a thing that we call decompress. Every empath needs to decompress, because we can walk into any crowded room and go into sensory overload, because we are multi-sensory. We have that intuition. A lot of us have been snuffed to not trust our own feelings and intuition, and it can lead to depression and anxiety, and I'm testimony to this. I want to get into a little bit of traits between the dynamic of those choosing the ego mind, not knowing their identity here. They don't go into self-reflect mode like we do. They go into project mode, which is, oh no, you're not going to stir up any of my wounds or my demons, and I'm going to tell you that you're the bad one, or it's your problem. It's a lot of they puke back at you what you're sensing they're not saying, and they get very, very like defensive. A lot of them, you can see it in their body language. They'll be like, oh no, I'm not hearing this. Oh no, you're not waking that up within me. It's too hurtful. I'm not going to go there. And really what that is because they've clung on to that false identity of not sure of who they truly are. And so it's very intimidating for somebody like that to be in the presence of somebody that's so heart-centered and genuine, like an empath, like myself and you, if you're on this channel, I'm sure. So here's a few notes that I wrote in dynamics between this, because this is where the energy vampiring can get rampant. And my whole purpose is this, that I hope that you don't go 40 plus years to have this awareness of it, because those that cling to that false identity are intimidated with your realness. And it's kind of backwards to think about it, but here's one of the key highlights, and I wrote a little bunch of notes. I'm going to kind of quickly go through this. You can push replay. They're intimidated by our energy, because even when we're down and out, we vibrate higher, and that's because our self-reflection is in the heart. We have conversations between our mind and our hearts, but we gravitate more towards that heart space at being an empath. So they don't relate to us neither when we go into self-reflect mode and decompress mode, where we need that alone time, whether it be nature, whatever it is for you. Nature and animals is huge for me to decompress from all the energies of egos running around. And so they'll possibly tell you you're selfish, or take it personally when you need your alone time. So we mirror to them the things that are hidden in their objectives and in their the things they're just not willing to bring to the light, basically. So with us being so transparent and multi-sensory, we can pick up on that, and then we put out a vibration and an energy to that person who's clinging to the ego, and it stirs, that's where you'll get the defense mechanism coming from them and the projections, and it'll always come to you because they don't self-reflect. They do self-reflect, but it's all up in here. It's in the mind, and no, you're the bad person and you're the bully, when in fact you've been pretty much slammed by a narcissist, and it's madness and it's craziness. So I already said this, they don't self-reflect. They do, but it's all up here. It's not in the heart space. It's about me with them. It's not about the collective of I want everybody to be okay. It's more everything is a personal attack to them. And so they'll lash out at you, whether it be verbally. I mean, I've witnessed doors getting slammed. I've witnessed somebody in my presence turn completely red because what I was speaking was truth, and it irritated the things within them that they didn't want to look at. And so it's called blame shifting, and they project onto others because they can't even look at the wounds that they really do need to unpack rather. And super thirsty today. The energy's intense, guys. Schumann resonance 2 days ago went through the roof again, so us feelers and healers are gonna, you're probably already experiencing it. Super thirsty, headaches. Some people are experiencing sinus type purging, and others are flu-like symptoms. So really be gentle and increase your water. Victim mode is always on with the narcissist. And why is that? Is because they don't think others like we do. They don't think about, oh, how's that person's feelings relevant? It's about their feelings. And so they carry that victim mode with them. And that's a lot of where you'll get the blame shifting coming back at you. Don't absorb it. Do the mirror effect. Imagine yourself in your heart space with a mirror and reflect their energy back to them. It'll save you a whole lot of emotions that aren't yours. What else? They fear and are intimidated by our authenticity. They fear and they can't process the fact that we can go through so many deep things in our life and wounds and rise above them, filtering all of that energy and pretty much transforming all of our wounds into more love. Like, we empaths have a heart of gold, and collectively, what is it? It's October 17th, and we're going through so many shifts right now. So keep the extreme highs and the extreme lows. We just keep getting that heart expansion within us empaths. And so be really gentle with yourself. I'm going to do one. I could go on and on about this subject. I'll definitely do more about mother wounds and a lot of these things. The wounded healer, the empath that's been suppressed and not been able to speak their heart and truth for so long, is usually into a dynamic where there's a core family wound that's not been wanted. Nobody's wanted to look at it. We've oftentimes been that black sheep of the family. And I want to tell you and encourage you that you're not alone, and it's actually such a gift. If you can get people to bridge with you and bring it all to the light, great. But a narcissist is very, very fixed in their personality. Everything is about them, whether they want to say it or not. You're not entitled to your own feelings, and you're not entitled to trust your intuition that you're picking up on that energy. So I'm going to do a Chakra Oracle just to close this up. I ask for God Creator's presence, and I just ask for anything that may help unblock and rise us empaths to the beautiful sovereign beings that we are. If there's any kind of wounds that we need to release, or any kind of feelings and emotions that would do us well to sit with and transmute that into love, into the heart space and expansion. Self-worth, sacral chakra, self-explanatory card for us empaths. It's a matter of fact that we are rising, and we're most abusive with ourselves. The inner dialogue, the self-talk, because we analyze and reflect upon everything. The self-worth card to me is so stinking it's self-explanatory. Take your pedestal upon that little throne there. It's not meaning that we're better than anybody, but your sensitivity is a gift. It's the thing that this planet needs the most, and the children are coming in more and more sensitive, and they don't know what this is. That's my whole thing of sharing with everybody is you got to know who you are. You got to know that the divine plan, God, Creator, Source, made no accidents by creating us so sensitive. We've just dropped down into this third density, into this human experience with so many personalities and a lot of people living in their minds instead of their hearts. And if you look around collectively, that's what we need to transform. So that where that starts with is know your self-worth. Know who you are as a child of God. Your feelings matter, and you got to trust your own intuition, because sometimes you have to set healthy boundaries. Sometimes you need to walk away from people you've known all your life. Do this always out of love in the heart space, and you won't go wrong. The self-worth card to me is keep rising with your sensitivities. It is a complete blessing. And I'll get much more into the energetics of how the empath and the narcissist have, the narcissist feeds from our energy, because we're starting to step into our authenticity of knowing who we are, and they're still trying to take the energy that you have instead of creating their own life force energy. So they can't take it unless we give it. Empower yourself. Know who you are as a beautiful child of God. And start out this by every day. I don't care. Before you get out of bed, all throughout the day, whenever you need it, in a heart-centered space, affirm to yourself loving, kind words. And like the channeled message that I got for all of us empaths today was, you know your self-worth. Your feelings are valid, and you need to go by trusting your own intuition, because that is our first language. And when you go in the heart, you don't go wrong. Do whatever it is that you need to do to withhold the energy that you have, because we don't need to be giving out to people who are still not willing to bring their hurts and wounds to the surface to be healed, transmuted to love and light in the space where empaths always go, is the heart. Know your worth. Speak love to yourself first. If you do this, I will guarantee you, the more comfortable you get doing this and speaking love to yourself, the more you will rise into your power. I send this to you with so much love and many blessings. Namaste.